Welcome to this deep dive. We are going to be exploring a concept that could completely change how you view the world. We're going to be talking about the idea of a connected universe. That's right, a universe where everything's linked in this dynamic web of energy and information.
Sounds pretty wild, right?
It does. And we're going to be drawing on some fascinating excerpts from Lynne McTaggart's book, The Field, The Quest for the Secret Force of the Universe.
This book delves into some groundbreaking scientific research that suggests we're all way more interconnected than we might realize.
It's going to be a mind-bending journey, that's for sure.
So are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Okay. So the foundation of this connected universe idea lies in quantum physics. Specifically, it starts with something called the zero-point field.
The zero-point field. Okay. It sounds kind of sci-fi, to be honest.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about here?
Yeah, break it down for me.
So imagine a vast sea of energy that permeates all of space, even when there's no matter present.
So even in the complete absence of matter, there's still this energy field.
Yes. It's constantly buzzing with activity, even in the emptiest corners of the universe.
So it's not just empty space out there.
Nope. There's this underlying energy field that connects everything. And get this, the zero-point field isn't just about energy. It also stores huge amounts of information. It's kind of mind-blowing.
So it's like this cosmic library, a cosmic library holding the blueprint for everything that's ever existed.
You could definitely think about it that way. It's like this cosmic memory bank, you know? It holds the imprint of the entire universe.
Wow. Okay. So then how does this play out, like in living organisms? If everything is linked through this field, how does that actually work? How does that function in living beings?
Well, this is where the work of German biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp comes in. He discovered that living cells actually emit tiny pulses of light.
Wait, what? They emit light?
They do. They emit light, yeah. And these little pulses of light are called biophotons. Essentially, our cells are talking to each other through this language of light.
So our bodies are like this giant light show on a microscopic level.
Yeah. They're constantly exchanging information, influencing each other's behavior, and working together to maintain the overall coherence of the organism.
So it's like a hidden network of communication, making sure that everything runs smoothly within our bodies.
Exactly. And this exchange of light, it's facilitated by the zero-point field, and it helps explain how our bodies can function with such incredible complexity, even down to the level of our DNA.
So it's not just our genes and chemical reactions. There's something more to how our bodies are organized and how they actually function.
It seems like there is. This idea of an underlying blueprint, something guiding the development and the behavior of life. It's a common thread in a lot of research, not just biophysics. And it makes you wonder, could this intelligence be connected to the zero-point field, to this vast source of information that connects, well, everything?
It's definitely a lot to take in. So our cells are communicating through light. Does that mean our thoughts, like our intentions, could they also have an influence on the world around us? Like, are we sending out signals through this field?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, like, what happens when you amplify those intentions? What happens when you have not just one person focusing their intention, but groups of people, hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions, all focusing on the same thing?
Okay, yeah, it's a pretty wild thought. Kind of like a global mind meld or something. I mean, is that like what we're getting at here?
Yeah, it might sound a little out there, but there is growing evidence that something like that might actually be going on. McTaggart talks about the work of Roger Nelson. He used random number generators, basically these electronic coin flippers, to study the effects of group intention.
Right. He took those devices to like concerts, sporting events, religious services, places where people were experiencing shared emotions or like a really focused sense of attention.
Exactly. And what he found was that the output of those random number generators, it actually deviated from randomness during these moments of collective engagement.
So like the more people focusing on the same thing, the stronger that signal became?
Yeah. Like they were creating a unified field of energy that could actually influence events.
Wow. Okay. That makes me think about Dean Radin's research. He studied the effects of global events on random number generators, like the Academy Awards, for example, where you have billions of people all tuned in, experiencing the same emotional highs and lows.
Right. And Radin found that during those peak moments, those shared experiences, the random number generators would show these significant deviations from randomness.
So even though they were miles apart, our shared experiences could still be creating these ripples in the field, like some giant wave of consciousness, just washing over the planet.
It's a pretty incredible thought, right?
Yeah.
And he found similar effects during other major news events, moments of global crisis or celebration, times when everyone's glued to the same news feed, feeling that same shared sense of urgency or relief.
So events that evoke really strong collective emotions, they can have a measurable impact on this field. What about the studies on the Maharishi effect? McTaggart mentions how large groups meditating together could reduce conflict and violence in the surrounding areas.
Yeah, those studies were fascinating. What they found was that during these periods of large-scale group meditation, crime rates decreased, even war deaths. They decreased significantly in the surrounding areas.
That's pretty amazing. So collective meditation could act like a global peacekeeping force, like reducing the probabilities of conflict and violence.
Well, it's probably not quite that straightforward, but the research definitely suggests that it can have a profound positive impact on the world around us.
So it reinforces this idea that we're not separate, that our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, they actually matter, and collectively, we can shape the reality that we experience. This whole concept of the connected universe, it really, it shifts your whole perspective. Instead of feeling like these isolated individuals, lost in this vast and indifferent universe, we're actually co-creators of reality.
Right, and that comes with a sense of responsibility too, doesn't it? I mean, if our collective thoughts and intentions are shaping the world, what kind of world do we want to create?
Yeah, it's a pretty profound question. It makes you think about, the wisdom of those ancient traditions,
Right.
The ones that emphasize practices like prayer, meditation, rituals. Maybe they were onto something about tapping into this interconnected field all along.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, many cultures throughout history, they've held these beliefs about the power of collective intention to influence the world around them.
McTaggart talks about some fascinating concepts like morphic resonance, this idea that repeated actions or behaviors, they can actually create a kind of energetic blueprint, and then others can tap into it. And she also talks about the memory of water, the idea that water can store information,
Right.
which is a central principle in homeopathy, right?
Yeah.
So these concepts, they're really intriguing, but they raise some pretty big questions too. If our thoughts and intentions can actually influence water, and we're made mostly of water, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for our own health and well-being?
Exactly. It's a really fascinating question to ponder.
So how can we actually apply all of this in our daily lives? How do we tap into this interconnectedness in a way that actually enhances our own well-being? And maybe even, helps to create a more harmonious world.
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways from the field is the power of intention. If our thoughts and intentions can actually influence the world around us, even at a quantum level, then it becomes really important to be aware of where we're focusing our minds.
Right.
It's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's really about understanding that our thoughts and beliefs are literally shaping our reality.
So by shifting our focus, we can change, the probabilities of events in our lives. She describes some pretty amazing experiments that, that support this idea, like studies where people were able to influence the direction that fish swam in, or even protect human cells from damage just by focusing their intention.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those experiments really highlight the power of focused attention, our ability to direct our mental energy toward a specific outcome.
So it's not just about thinking good thoughts. It's about actively directing those thoughts with, clarity and purpose.
Yeah, it's like mental training, almost.
Yeah, like developing a muscle.
Exactly. The more we practice focusing our intention, the more powerful it becomes. And if we could do this individually, imagine the potential if we could harness that power collectively.
Like we're all tuning into the same frequency, amplifying the signal of peace, healing, positive change.
It's really inspiring when you think about the possibilities.
It is, and it kind of brings us back to those ancient practices we were talking about earlier, meditation, prayer, rituals. Maybe those practices weren't just about connecting with something greater than ourselves. Maybe they were also about, tapping into the power of the collective.
Yeah, and influencing the world around us.
I've got to say, this whole conversation has really been a mind bender. It's definitely made me rethink my place in the universe and the power we all have to, to create change, both individually and collectively.
That's the beauty of these ideas. It opens up a whole new way of seeing ourselves and the world around us. Challenges us to consider that we're not just passive observers, we're active participants in shaping reality. And to our listener, as you move forward, we encourage you to keep exploring these concepts. Experiment with the power of your own intention. See how you can tap into this interconnectedness to, enhance your own life and contribute to a more harmonious world. Remember, like Lynne McTaggart says, you are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop.
And with that beautiful thought, we conclude our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.